Monday. I was just telling DJ off there. Holy crap, am I lost today?
Is it
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Sorry, DJ, you were saying?
I was gonna say, is it vacation brain? I see. Lisa got her title back though.
Oh,
Lisa got it back.
that 3 times. Oh no, two.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go.
Oh,
Yeah,
love it.
bantering back and
You,
forth already on a
Lisa and
Monday
Jeff,
morning.
you guys rock. Morning, David. You guys are awesome for a Monday morning. That's
Gotcha.
crazy.
I like that. That's good. Lisa's one. Good morning, Damon. You know what it is? We flew out at 9:25. I'll never do an evening flight again.
Mm,
I mean, there's pros and cons to it, right? You get through customs and security so fast,
yeah.
but like we arrived home at 3:15 in the morning. So like literally, you bring your suitcases, you drop them at the front door, and I was like
Drop them, yeah.
upstairs to
You
bed.
leave- Yeah.
But then you're lying in bed and you're like, and you say to yourself going into it, you're like, okay, yeah, no problem, I'm going to sleep on the plane. But I don't know if our one of our engines was held on with like fiber fix or duct tape. Like I don't know if the mechanic had watched the Red Green show or something, DJ.
Oh, jeez.
But the noise, like the one, I was like,
Really?
yeah, it's not. I don't think it's supposed to be.
I don't
like
think it's
this.
supposed to sound like that. Yeah. I don't really. Are there parachutes? What?
Yeah, like you see that there's a life vest underneath, right? What about my jumping
I was
out at
gonna say,
20,000 feet vest? But it was it's just so you go to bed. It's like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. We're up. We want to get the dogs because we want to get our puppies home. So it's like I was just meeting with the guy at 8:30 in the morning, and like I haven't even. And I guess creatures of habit. Like I haven't even opened my agenda today to see what's on tap, like what I moved from last week to today.
That's why
and
you're
it's
lost.
like,
That explains
why
it.
I'm
Then. That's
lost.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, I'm looking around as we're 1 minute before we're going on air. I'm like, where's all my, where's all of my things? And I'm like, and I'm looking around. I'm like, okay. And I'm looking, my watch is dead. I got to plug my watch in, but my whole plug-in thing, like I got one of those like phone watch earphone station little gadget thing.
Yeah. The
So it's
Malta.
gone. So I got nothing to plug it into. And I'm like, oh, and I, yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, happy Monday.
Things, right?
Maybe you can restart tomorrow and make it Monday again.
I'm probably gonna be honest with you. It's like, I mean, I know I have specific things that are very, very, very important today, and I know I have them, so they're in my head and they're playing in my head last night, right? Like if we ever, so a few things. If I can make some observations, okay?
Yeah.
So the first observation is, if something does not change, our next generation is in a lot of trouble.
Oof.
And I'll explain to you why.
Mm.
We're at a resort. It's a beautiful resort. And I'm walking around, and it was a very big family resort. It's probably one of the most family resorts we've ever been to.
Okay.
And I'm walking around, and there are very few families speaking, talking, having conversations. Everybody.
A lot of this.
Yeah. And the Wi-Fi goes out, okay, at the resort. So what happened is there was like La Chow Hotel or something, whatever the provider was. Apparently a cable went down. And like it was unreal. The panic. And I was like, and just again observing, right?
Yeah.
And I was saying to my wife, I was saying, we're in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble if things don't change. I mean, like perfect time to have conversation, to talk, and it's like at dinners, everybody's, like they're sitting in the loungers, and nobody's having conversation. Everybody, it was, and I don't know if it's probably been like that for a long time, but when you just like see something. You're standing in line at a grocery store and you look at like an Inquirer magazine and it sparks an idea in your head kind of thing, where at certain points in your life, you just see things. And, so that was one observation. The second observation is airplane seats are just way too small. They're just way too small.
They're not very comfortable. I mean, the
They're
way you
horrible.
they're so uncomfortable. Yeah, they are.
But so those are my two observations that I learned on vacation. So when you talk
That's it.
about learning something, I learned that conversation's key. And I don't know. I don't know what the future
Talk to your
holds.
kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know what the future holds for sales. I don't know what the future hold. Like it's, I was just this morning again reading a whole but all these new things coming out saying, tech's got to get into sales. Tech's got to get into sales, and it's like sales is people, right? Sales is you and I having a conversation, liking each other. As much as tech's got to get involved, tech can be there to hold us on the timeline and to keep us on the highway, but in order to close business, it's people. And if all we do is this, how are we ever going to deal with people? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not an expert in that field, DJ, but it just
Yeah,
seems
yeah,
to me like our cell phones, this instant gratification is taking over. And I mean, I'm telling you, so
yeah.
I went up to ask about the Wi-Fi because I was like, okay, I'm not sure, like my phone's jumping, but my AirDrop was going on and off with my wife. So I was like, listen, is there something problem with the Wi-Fi? Oh yeah, it's down. I said, oh, okay, no problem. So I turned my data on and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
because I still have to stay in touch. I'm like, okay. But
yeah.
I can tell you that the Wi-Fi dropping, we didn't have communication with our kids, which
Mm,
was, because they were in a different room. So it's like, are you ready for dinner? What time do you want?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
all those things. That was a little challenging because we're just used to it, right? But
yeah.
like my son's girlfriend was texting my wife who had data. It's like, I'm worried about Brendan. I haven't spoke to him. And same thing with my daughter's boyfriend. Like it's like, so
Yeah.
there's these, when all of a sudden you're out of touch, it's like all this panic spreads farther
Oh,
than just where you are. Right. And I guess farther than like, I couldn't post on Insta this morning or something, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But
I
anyway,
like
Ryan got,
Ryan's got a good comment right there. I agree.
yeah, we consume too much content we don't need to. Once we take back control, we get so much time. Sundays I don't use my phone. It's been a great for productivity. That's awesome, Ryan. And you know what? I think it's true.
That's
I've
smart.
said it many times at like
Smart.
5:30 or something. I drop this in the office and I walk away.
Mhm.
Because you know what? Especially so for everyone that's been in logistics for 20 plus years, you'll know you've been connected 24/7 for 20 plus years. Like I remember when Blackberries first came out. Like the first BlackBerry, I thought it was awesome because you can turn it this way and it had
I
like
thought
this
it was
huge
great too.
keyboard
Yeah.
on it. It was awesome. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
and it kind of looked like a pager. It was kind of like a really big pager, and you
Yep.
slipped it in one of those plastic cases that if you saw somebody use today, you'd be like, dude, what are you doing? That's like kind of like Dwayne Johnson with his fanny pack. But you slip it in there, right? And I love those things. And then it was
Yeah.
like 2 years after they came out, customers at 8 o'clock at night expect you to get back to them
Oh
because
yeah.
we're connected, and from that point on we've
Connected.
been connected, especially in our industry. I mean, I guess in every industry, but especially in our industry.
Well, I will tell you, good advice. Ryan does have great advice to everybody out there, especially if y'all working from home in this industry. It's a little bit different. We've been doing that for a while, but if you are new to working at home, don't get overwhelmed or swamped by it. It's there all the time, so you feel like you can do it all the time, and
Mhm.
it could become overwhelming. So yeah, take
You know,
those
you
breaks.
do the
Take
whole
those breaks.
I'll just be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I
Oh
just
yeah.
at 20 minutes, I just do 20
3 hours
minutes break.
later.
Yeah. And it's easy. It's
Oh yeah.
easy. And here,
Very easy.
it's like I speak to people all the time that have uh, work for somebody else and work from home, especially over the last 2 years. And it's
Hmm.
funny because the first thing they say is, oh, my employer wants me to go back to work. Don't they realize they get more productivity out of me by working at home?
Yeah.
And it was an
Less
interesting
drive
statement.
time, less everything. So yeah, I mean, it really does. We were just at a friend's birthday party over the weekend, and that's what they were all talking about because they, and talking about the working from home because a lot of them are new to that. They weren't doing it before, now they are. So it's yeah, the change of it. But that's what they said. Yeah, we don't have to drive, so we're working more. It's close to 4:30, and instead of we're getting ready to leave like we would if we were at the office, now we're working till 6 or so. It just keeps going. It's
Hmm.
like yeah,
Hmm.
And
because
they've already
your
proven
other
they've
time
gotten
is on the same timeline.
yeah,
Right? Like your other time, you're saying, okay, if I leave at 7 and I start work at 8:30, you leave at 7, so you're all set. Like your whole morning and all your routine is
yep,
set
yep.
for that. Because we are creatures of routine and habit. Like, oh
You
my
need it.
lord, I
You
thought
need it.
dogs and cats were, but we are huge creatures of routine.
We need
Even
it.
to the point where I said to Christine, um, mid trip, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law would normally be at the buffet because I was doing the show, and then we'd meet them at the buffet. Same table every single day. And right, just even that piece of the puzzle is routine. And so
Routine.
think of it like, imagine this, DJ. The solution maybe, or the habit, the fix, the thing that we talk about, the trigger
Mm-hmm.
for making sales calls. It's as easy as getting into a routine, right?
Yeah,
And when we
it really
don't,
is.
right? And when we don't keep that routine, it's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, and after like 2 weeks, when all the soreness comes out, it's this routine, and you
It's a
get into it.
routine.
And then
Yeah,
something happens, and you cut that routine. How hard is it to get back in that routine?
depends on the routine, but very hard usually. Very,
Very hard.
very hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. And we're talking months of creating it.
Yeah.
And even just use vacation, for example. You go on vacation. How many
Yeah.
people actually work out for the 7 days they're gone?
Not not as many as you would think. I
Right?
don't think.
Exactly. And so now, right, you break it for a week. You have months into it. You break it for a week.
Yeah.
Getting back in is so
You got to get
difficult.
back on it.
You got to go through that grinding stage again. And
Yes.
as I'm saying this, I'm thinking back to when I would make cold calls. When I stopped making cold calls, it was so hard to get back into it. So hard to get back into it. It was crazy hard.
I
Like
agree. That's so.
insane. And you have to
I'm
go
glad you
through
brought that
all
up.
of
Yeah, it was the same for me. I had to do triggers. You brought up triggers. That's my phone still does it. I have time blocks. I have east, west, central time blocks, and my calendar still pops it up. And before that would trigger me. Okay, I was be sitting at my desk. Okay, that's it. Everything else is done, and this is what I'm doing. And for the hour. But I had to do that. Otherwise, I got to follow up on this email. I got to do this. I got to do that. And you start finding every excuse not to do it. So yeah, just creating those time blocks. So they still pop up. I haven't been calling forever, but yeah, once I had to get back into it, it was so hard. It was really hard.
yeah.
It was really
Yeah,
hard.
and for all of you out there watching and listening, share with what you think is the difficult part, because you've done it for years. Like, this is the thing, right? Like I'm going on almost 30 years in the industry.
Yeah.
I've cold called for 30 something years.
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult when there's this blip, right? And I call it a blip because when you think about it, the amount of time you're cold calling, and let's say you don't even cold call for 3 months, that's a blip,
Yeah.
right? Like it is. What is that pain that we avoid? Because it's the pursuit of pleasure or the avoidance of pain. Those are the only two avenues we have in life. Those are the two choices we have, right?
Yeah.
And so it's
Yep.
it's what are what are we avoiding? Are we avoiding the no? Are we avoiding oh, I got a bunch of business now, and if I call and work on my business, I'm not going to hear no. But if I call and hear new people, it's going to kind of tear down my ego. Like, and
Yeah.
when we put it into that kind of perspective, it's like, is that
Yeah. What am
craziness
I
or
doing?
what? Like, what is that? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm trying to think back to, because I was very big on like getting a book of business and then coasting and then
Mhm.
losing some business and going, oh my God, I got to start selling again. And then you sell to get back up to that lifestyle,
Yeah.
and then
Oh
losing
yeah.
for probably 2 decades of my career until I finally just said, okay, listen, I want to
Got to
go
keep it
15
steady.
rungs every year,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make that like my mission. And I'm trying to think of what the nucleus was of, like, why did I not come
In the
out
end,
with,
I think, at least for me, I'll just speak for myself. But in the end, I think what it is it always is that fear of rejection. But depending on the level, It's a difference. So us being so experienced in it, doing it again, you're like, oh shit, am I really as good as people are listening to me? And you're afraid to like face that again, maybe like if you're pounding and pounding and pounding, because again, nothing is just going to work. But it seems like when we're talking all this stuff, like everything should work, and it's not going to. It's never going to. You're never going to sell to everybody. You're never going to have the right thing. But I think we get in our head, at least I do, like, well, this should just work all the time now. I've been doing this forever. It should just work. It doesn't. It's not going to. It's that routine. It's that habit, and it's that mindset. I think we just have to get ourselves back into. I think it's a mindset.
Yeah.
I really think it's a mindset.
I think it is as well. I mean, I know mindset is like the starting point of all great achievements.
Yeah.
But what precedes that? Right? Like, and I don't know, this is probably going to be driving me crazy all day now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the preceding that, right? Like, think about it. Closing a deal is one of the best feelings ever.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, you're like, damn, I did it.
Yeah.
In order to close that deal, we need to open the deal. In order to open the deal, we have to send an email, make a call, do something, figure out if the person and us get along, and go from there, right? And kind of work through the sales sequence. But what stops us from opening the deal? And so it goes back, like, and I think it goes like, I don't know, part of me in my head,
uncertainty.
like the desire to make 50 phone calls and get 50 voicemails, and then to make another 75 phone calls and get another 75 voicemails, and at the end of the day, I've spoken to 0 people, but 125 voicemails. I don't know. I know that was part of one of my
that's a killer
that frustrated me. It was like, I spend all this time, and if I could just speak to a person, but again, that's part of the sales process.
Yeah.
You can't just expect every day to make 50 phone calls and speak to 50 people. That would be awesome.
Right? Yeah.
And if you do it right, you can ramp up to that in 3 to 6 months, where you're having 5 meetings a day because you're prospecting so much. And if you have a prospecting system in place, you
building up that funnel. There you go.
But what's the starting point of that?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, hold on. And now you start digging back, right? You start digging back. Greg says, I've not called for over a year. It's not fear at all. I figure if they call me, then the door has already been opened, and they opened it rather than me needing to kick the door down. It's very interesting. Sales and close ratio has been up ever since, with less waste.
I like it. Greg, that's because all your content. I love your content and your pictures you're always sharing. So keep it rocking. But
what about that, DJ?
That's going to be the
Does
factor.
Content create traction? Does content create warm leads?
I think 100% it does. It gets you noticed,
100%.
and you get the right people noticing you. They're going to reach out to you, especially if you're saying the right things, or you're connecting with them. But
Exactly. Lisa says it. She says, my triggers are set. Just need to follow the prompts. Oh, I like that. That's a good one.
Oh, yes.
Antoine says, imagine going on a date. No, I couldn't even come close to imagining that. No.
Nope.
Not funny. I couldn't. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Ryan had a good one about golf, too. He said he just started golf. You see that? First round of golf.
Oh, so nice. Since you're talking about routine, I did my first round of golf yesterday, and the lack of routine threw me off. Got to stick to a routine personally, professionally, and spiritually. So, Ryan, now you're talking my language, brother.
Yes.
I could tell you. So the one thing I would share when it comes to golf, if you're just starting, is get lessons right away before you develop any bad habits. But B, when you find the routine, don't break it.
No.
Like, if you really want to golf at a really good level, right? I mean, it's going to, golf like anything, it takes you practice to get there. But I know when I was, low 70s, high 60s, I was for about 3-4 years, because I was just golfing consistently. It's all I did. Probably 4 days a week during business, I was golfing.
Yes.
And you're right, the routine is everything. If you watch every professional golfer, they do the same thing every single time. And when it doesn't feel right, they step away. Whereas the amateur will be like, I'll fix it in my downswing. And it never works. Never works. So
Never,
yes,
never,
Ryan,
never.
100%. 100%. Jeff says mindset is 24/7, 365. And sexy question. The question is, do you really need to make 50 calls a day? Where is the time to research a prospect properly to make a real connection, figure out your niche and stay in that lane? You know, I
I,
love that, Jeff.
I like that he brought that up. Yeah, the niche
Hmm.
too, and knowing what you're talking about. Then I think the research, to your point, Jeff, you don't have to. Once you're staying in your lane, like you're saying, and you're figuring out your niche, the research is just on the company. Then it's not everything else. So then you have more time to, and you're the professional because you know what you're talking about. But yeah,
And here's one other thing I'll Nerfad. Good morning, gangstas.
morning.
West Coast in the house. I don't even know if I could do it. There we go. West Coast in the
So,
house. Um, so, you know, and another thing to Jeff's point. So I started doing something later in my career because earlier in my career, I was like researching all these companies. I would spend probably 5-6 minutes researching a company to get voicemail.
I did
And
see.
then, you know, I'd refresh my research next time. And after about 6 calls, I'd finally get a hold of them. Like, yeah, not even interested. We're locked in a contract for 6 years. Have a good day and hang up on me. And I'm like, okay, now I just wasted a total of 30 minutes on researching this company. So what I started doing was I didn't do any research, none, on any company I called. I would call and I would say, I would just 8 Mile it. And they would say, you know, what do you know about us? I said, well, you know what? My call today is not to necessarily have a conversation. It's to see if A, B, and C, meaning my client profile, does this match? Yeah, that's what we're all about. Okay, perfect. Can we schedule a time? Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't research you at all. And the reason I didn't is because I protect my time. And if I research you and you have zero interest or you're locked into an RFP for 5 years or we don't get along and we're not congruent, it's really a waste of time. Would you not
Yep.
agree? And I remember so many people were like, that's an interesting approach. Yeah, I see your point. And then what I would do is my first call was always to schedule an appointment.
Schedule an
Then
appointment.
I
Yeah.
knew there was, yeah, exactly. So I knew there was interest. So then I would take the time to research, if that makes sense. Right. So
I'm so
I
glad you
kind of
said.
flipped it on its head.
I flipped it the same way. I did the same thing. I would, because that was the big thing when I first got into the industry. Research the companies, research. But then, I'll tell you, the first 3-letter company I worked for, they were don't research anything. They were just call everybody and just try to get their freight, and so they really didn't teach anything of any strategic.
So they're just
strategy
carpet
at all.
bombing.
But no, it's just call.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get their freight, but then when I tweaked it, like you said, yeah, that was the whole difference. It was call for the appointment, get an appointment where they're ready for it. So yeah, I would do, hey, I know I'm calling you by surprise, just like probably 30 brokers called before me. I just want to actually, if you are, blah, 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 can we send an appointment so we can see if I can help? And that's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've also found by doing that, I remember speaking to a bunch of prospects and saying, I remember because I would always ask at the end, my last question would always be, so what was it that made you want to take this appointment? I want to know, right? Like, was it just something I said? Was it something I didn't say? Was it the fact that, yeah. And for the most part, and the same thing when somebody said no, what would stop you from taking this appointment? Right? Like what has stopped you? You just said no. What was the point that stopped you from taking a next appointment with me?
Yeah.
And I think it's valuable feedback for us as sales reps because the majority of the time they would say, you know what, you called me out of the blue and you just didn't break into this spiel. It was like you identified who I was and was I pertinent to the growth of us together? Because that's really what it is, right? When we talk about customer profile and DJ, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Your customer profile dictates your long-term growth with somebody. And my question has always been, why would you want to take 3 months to close a deal that's gone in 3 months? As opposed to 3 months to close a deal that's still around 10 years from now.
10 years, yeah.
Like you talk about ROI on your time, right? It takes you 3 months to close a deal. You're consistently being creative to solidify that deal every single day. Because the reality is, we've all heard it. We're just as good as our last order.
Yes.
Right? Like, and so what do we as salespeople do to consistently get better? To wake up every day and say, how am I going to make today so good yesterday gets jealous? How am I going to be better today than I was tomorrow? And I know some people think it's Pollyanna, and some people are like, oh my God, Dan, come on. Like, but really, that's how you give yourself a raise every day. If you're not walking into the office or walking into your the office or your office, wherever you are, mobile, whatever, if your vehicle's your office or whatever, if you're not walking in there every day and saying, how can I give myself a raise? How can I make today better than this? I honestly think you're missing the boat. You're missing the boat of what true careers could look like when you actually design your career instead of letting the career design you. You take control over it and say, I want this, 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 and this out of my career. In order to get that out of your career, you need to know that person you're speaking with is that like-minded person.
Yes.
And when you're congruent, everything happens faster. And those people, and that's probably one of the big reasons I started asking that question, because I would want somebody to ask that. Like somebody that just calls me out of the blue. Really think about it. And I know, DJ, we've said this so many times and probably haven't said it in a while, but I get one phone call, maybe 2 a week from duct cleaners or, people for windows, right? And think about this. 1 to 2 calls, maybe 3 a week, maybe if I'm lucky. And I get annoyed because they never stop and say, hey, do you have a moment?
No.
And listen, I know there's going to be a lot of salespeople that are going, yeah, but Dan, when you say, do you have a moment? They always say no. Yeah. Then when would be a better time? I specialize. When I find customers that are X, A, B, C, and D, if that's you, DJ, we really should talk because I specialize in helping them. And that's it. And if they're not interested, why are we going to try and convince somebody? I don't get that. But I did. I tried to convince everybody because I move freight. So why can I not help, right?
Yes.
Oh wow! Look at
exactly.
all this.
We got some good comments here.
Yeah. So Richard, welcome, my friend. I like golf and I'm not good. I hate sales and I'm not good. Golf, anyone?
I love it, Richard.
I bet you he's good at both. What do we got? Lisa says, work smarter, not harder or longer. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ryan
Yes.
says, design the career. I love this. 100%, brother. That's exactly what we
You
need
should
to
be
do.
designing your career, designing your
Mhm.
life, y'all. don't be forced to.
Did the phone calls work better than sending an email with the same message? I found hitting people cold on the phone was always the wrong time and closed the door to an opportunity. So, Richard, I believe so. I'm a big email person, but in my intro emails, it's like I work with these types of people the best. And the reason I'm sending you an email is because when have you ever had a phone call that came at an opportune time? Right? Those are kind of my 2 messages in my first email. Some people are going to say phone calls. What's your preference, DJ? Phone calls or email?
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, so I'm a little bit of the flip side. I like the phone call first, just so I know that I'm even going after the right person, or I guess just hearing somebody else or finding some information along the way, like either if I found that contact from somewhere and they might be, just verifying that is, and getting an email or getting the email from somebody or from them always worked better for me. But sometimes email is the only way. I mean, I had customers that I didn't talk on the phone with until the first time there was a problem, moving freight for 3 months because it was just easier for them by email. So, I mean, don't limit yourself. I don't know that one way is better than the other. I just think phone, it's more personal, and I feel like I can. I've become a very picky ICP person, so I'm only working with people that, and so like I could tell if they just sound like a dick over the phone, like I'm not even gonna waste my time, and so that you can't tell that by an email. So that's where I
that's interesting. So I have a couple of questions for you on that. So you've actually had customers that you've moved freight with for months via email, never spoken to. Were those customers cost-based customers, or were they actual relationship? Okay. Okay. And that I figured that. I just wanted to clarify.
Completely. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the easiest. Hey, I have these lanes. I send them out via email.
What can you quote it for? Oh, okay. And then you just start sending. And I'm like, hold on,
Yeah.
where the hell did this even come from? But yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily your ICP that
No. I couldn't
you
even
were
talk.
working
I
with. It
couldn't
was
even
just a
talk to the
company that
person to
had
make a
freight.
relationship.
Okay. And I just wanted to clarify that because I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
like,
no,
you
it's
know,
crazy. Listen, it
yeah,
only happened maybe twice, I think, but yes, it was crazy both times.
but it happened.
It
So
does happen.
it's doable, but
Absolutely.
typically that's when you're, yes, 100%. Greg says, using social media, having them schedule the appointment at their convenience saves a lot of time, pre-qualifies their interest, and allows you time to research. Actual cold calling does not generate revenue. Calling on an appointment is the real revenue generator, and if they're taking the first few steps to get there easier and quicker, 100%. That's what I call micro commitments. Right, the more micro commitments we get from a prospect, the
Yeah, the
faster our
shorter the
sales cycles
stage.
move.
Yeah,
And those
you're just
micro
setting the
commitments
plate.
are, 100%. The big one is a meeting. If they commit to a meeting, there's an interest right
Yes.
away. Like bang, there's an
Yes.
interest. Here's the interest. And this is the big thing. So as a sales rep, today's day and age, more than ever, if somebody gives you their time, that's huge.
Oh yeah.
Huge. Like, this
Don't
is
waste it.
why every day we say thank you to you for spending your first half hour of your day
Yes.
with us,
Yeah.
because your time is so valuable. And especially today, I mean, how many traffic managers have we had on the show? Logistics managers, VP of logistics says it. We're like 50 to 75% more things to do in a day than we've ever had to do,
Oh yeah.
plus their regular job that they had before they have to do all this. So when they give you time, that is like the ultimate payout. Don't waste it. Use
Yes.
it to the maximum ability. Time is everything. When somebody wants to give you time, it's not to sit there and yak about the weather. It's dive in and get it done, because they're reserving that time.
Yes. Yes. We all
100%.
we all only have 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter what level of life we are in. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, it doesn't matter. We
Oh,
all
it
only
doesn't
have
matter.
24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right, DJ. What do we,
All
we
right.
didn't even
Well,
we didn't even get to flip cards today,
I
brother. I
know
don't
we
even know what
didn't.
I'm kind of now. I'm in. So what would the topic have been today?
I don't know. Well, we'll find out.
No, but I mean, I'm trying to think back, because now we got to name the topics. I'm
Oh
thinking,
yeah, we do.
geez, what was the topic even today? But anyways,
I guess it's routines, habits.
sales routine, sales habits. Yeah. What the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it
That's
out
right.
off air.
Well,
All
hey,
right, brother. What do you got to take us out today?
thank you guys, everybody, for joining us as usual. Obviously, and like Dan said, for your time, especially everybody, whether you're West Coast, East Coast, you're with us here. Thank you, because we know it's your time and it's crucial. And if you're listening to us, we want to bring value to it. So thank you. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you to Damon and American Logistics, Centurion Trucking. Reach out to them, please. People over profits always. This week's going to be so much fun. I think tomorrow we got Hayden. Thursday we got Anthony Jones, which is going to be a riot. Wednesday, obviously, Triple D Day. So get ready, y'all. But again, thank you, everybody. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Start your day right with us. I got just a positive quote. I'm not really sure who it came from, but it actually worked out well, Dan. You may not always end up where you thought you were going, but you will always end up where you were meant to be. Remember that, guys.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversation,